Every brand of drill is different, so this has to be built specifically for the one you have. And the important first step is to mark the drilling axis on the other end of the drill so you can line it up properly. And to do that, I put a very straight rod in the chuck and lined up pieces of wood beside it so I can get a line that extends towards the back. And then I can use my calipers to measure that offset and transfer that mark to the end of the drill. And then I can use that mark to make the holder that's at the top of the carriage that holds the drill. Also using my calipers to measure the collar area at the front of the drill. Not every drill has this, but the one I have does, so I'm going to take advantage of it. I'm going to be making this mainly from plywood, and it's all scrap that I have laying around. I'm going to start with that nose piece, cut it out on a table saw, and then drill the closest size hole that I have in a Forstner bit. And then I can use my spindle sander to widen out the hole so it'll actually fit on there. Next, I'm going to cut some 1/4-inch plywood for the back of the carriage and also for the back of the jig itself. And then get some 3/4-inch screws to fasten that backing plate for the carriage to the part that I just cut out. And with that done, I can slip it onto the drill and start working on the holder that goes on the other end. I measured the space here and it's 1/4 inch exactly, so I'm going to use a strip of 1/4-inch plywood. I put it in, I can see that it doesn't bottom out, so I'm going to have to grind a little bit away on my belt sander until it fits in there snug. And then I can cut 2 pieces for the sides. I'm going to use solid wood for this though, and get those screwed onto that piece of plywood after I mark the offset. These 3 parts are all I need to line up the drill, but to hold it in place, I'm going to use another strip of plywood and screw that onto the other side. But once again, I need to take a little bit off on my belt sander so that it fits properly. The solid wood pieces were a little bit wide, but that's okay. I can use my mini table saw sled again to trim that off. And then I can use longer screws to fasten that to the carriage backing plate. With that done, I can put the drill in and check to make sure that it's accurate. I put the rod back in. I've cut a block to fit underneath it, and it should just contact the rod as you're pushing it in and taking it out. Now I can grab a piece of 3/4-inch plywood to cut the guide rails that will fasten to the base of the jig. And these need 1/4-inch slots for the backing plate on the carriage to fit into, and I can cut those on the table saw. Then I can use that other piece of 1/4-inch plywood that I cut before to fasten those rails together. And then I need to check to make sure that that's actually square and make adjustments as needed. The more accurate you can make these parts, the more precise the holes will be that you want to drill. And I should have done this before I put it together, but I'm clipping off the corners on those rails. And this doesn't have to be done, I'm just doing it for looks. It's not going to improve the performance of the tool. Final part to make is the base, and I'm going to be using 3/4-inch plywood for that again. I'm going to use my compact compass to lay out the bigger semicircle, and then just use a small paint can to draw the other ones, and then cut it out on the bandsaw. I did a couple of optional things off camera. First was to add these non-slip rubber pads to the base so that it would stay in place more reliably. And I also added a spring to counteract the weight of the drill. I didn't have one that was the right size, so I cut one down, and that seemed to work really well. This project has been on my to-do list for quite a while, and I finally got around to doing it because I needed to drill some holes in my workbench that need to be very accurate. And there are a number of times in the past where having something like this would have been very handy. So I would say that it's well worth the time to build one for yourself.